right, welcome back to Raff's Brain, a show about things that are interesting to me. I am your host, Raffety. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my tens of loyal listeners, the brainiacs all across the globe, thank you so much for tuning in. It's time for another episode of Drive and Jive. Yes, this is the stream of content of the Raff's Brain podcast where I pontificate, elaborate, hallucinate, and otherwise just entertain myself and talk and ramble and blather about things that are on my mind during a lengthy drive. In this case, I am headed from Arlington, Virginia to my hometown, North Central West Virginia, the small, quaint, Mayberry-like village of Buckhannon. Buckhannon. Not to be confused with Buchanan. Buckhannon, hard K. Yes, we all know and love Buckhannon. That's where I'm headed for the next several days, maybe a week. I'm going back to assist me Padre, J.C. Raffety, through some healthcare ordeals. It's an ongoing saga. You are loosely connected if you're a loyal listener. You're aware. A few months ago, my father had a catheterization procedure. Some stents were put in. He's doing good. That's exciting. Still got a little arrhythmia situation. So they're going to go in on Tuesday and do an ablation. That's a very intimidating sounding procedure. I don't think I ever want to get an ablation of the heart, but it's very common. They go in through the wrist or the groin. Yes, they do this with a little microscopic tube, and then they go into your heart and they kill some nerves and get your heart beating normal again. That's the scientific explanation of what's about to happen. So I'm going to go back, hang out, take him to the hospital, chill with him and be there for him during that time. And I'm excited to do that. I'm always happy and honored to spend time with my father, a very, very important figure in my life. Faux show. Now, because I'm driving, I have an opportunity to jive, as the name of the show suggests. Drive and jive. I'm just going to spout off some thoughts and ideas, and here's what's happening, folks. I'll tell you straight up. I'm very excited about it. I got inspired. Listening to the podcast of my friend, Andrew Heaton, host of the Political Orphanage, a show for misfits. And if you're not familiar, check out the links in the show notes today. Andrew Heaton, a.k.a. Andrew Heaton, is just an enlightening dude. He's fun, he's entertaining, and he's just a voice of reason and hope and optimism and cheerfulness. And I really like his podcast, which has been going on for many years now. He's got a nice little following. He's got a Patreon page. I'll put all this stuff in the content. If you're not listening to Andrew Heaton, the Political Orphanage, you need to check it out, man. He's a good voice in today's world because there's so much conflict and tribalization of in our culture. He tries to help bridge that and just have civil discourse on topics of interest, and his topics run the gamut, man. He's very intrigued by what we might call modern political economy. So everything from trade and taxation, spending, healthcare, artificial intelligence. He's always going to be looking at through a specific lens. Like, well, what are the debates in this space, the left and the right, and where are we talking past each other? How can we forge more fruitful and constructive conversations, even if we disagree, that we understand each other better, we perceive each other more as fellow Americans and human beings worthy of respect and dignity. I just appreciate what he's bringing to the table. So definitely check out the Political Orphanage. I was hitting up a couple episodes as I'm traversing the Appalachian Mountains. Yes, got me thinking, what can I do to encourage and support my friend Andrew? Just for context, we met many years ago. I stalked him down when he was in DC the first round. This is probably like 15 years ago. I would go out and look for talented up-and-coming comics in the DC area. I was trying to put together this bootstrap comedy web series, ultimately called Cap South, short for Capital South. Check it out, capsouthseries.com. I'll drop some links in the show notes. Super indie, super bootstrapped, just a good time. But he was one of the first people I identified as having a certain sensibility and charisma that would merit, like, I want this guy to be in the show. I didn't know much about him, but I was like, I just think he's funny. I saw his stand-up set and I was immediately impressed. All right. So I reached out. I was his fanboy. I took him out to coffee. We kind of, became fast friends. And he did get involved, and it was a major driving force behind that project. And I'm forever in debt to him for taking the time and energy to invest in that. We had a really good experience. Met a lot of other folks in the process. Learned a few lessons. At the end of the day, he moved away to New York, then he went to Austin, but he's back in DC, man. He's back in action. And I've been hanging out with him a little bit more, which is cool. And we've been exchanging emails. Most recently, I introduced him to a tool called Opus, OPUS, which is a kind of AI-informed editing tool online where you can upload video content and it will come back with clips of various sizes which you instruct. It can be less than 30 seconds to a minute. It goes all the way up to like 5 minutes. You can search for keywords. You can have it try to distill certain moments of a video and then pull out a clip. It's a really cool tool. I use it for Raff's Brain. For those of you who watch on YouTube, if you go to the YouTube channel, aside from the full-length episodes of content, which typically run anywhere from half an hour to an hour, depending on what's on my mind, what I'm doing, what the episode's about, I am able to derive about 3 to 5 little micro bites from any episode. And I've been doing this for the past several months just as an experiment, pulling out those shorts, plugging those up in YouTube, and those are getting thousands of views. So my regular episodes on YouTube are in the single digits mostly, maybe double digits for certain episodes. I don't have a huge following or fan base. If you're there, you know, right? If you're in Raff's Brains universe, thank you so much. It's very, it's a niche audience. My content appeals to a very particular demographic. The elites of the world are all here. Thank you. But the short content usually captures some of the jokes or insights or key moments of any show. Those have been getting thousands of views. Some of them have actually gotten over 10,000 views. So it's interesting to me that that's happening. And so, long story short, I've suggested to Andrew, hey man, you're recording your podcast now for video and audio. That's a great move. Because obviously there's an audio audience that's going to be listening on Apple or other platforms, Spotify, etc. But there's a huge opportunity to put your content on YouTube. And on that platform, you can do micro bursts. You can have, in between your long form episodes, you can have a lot of short form content that will get perhaps the attention of someone who might not otherwise listen to your show. And if your goal is to expand the reach of your content attract new audience members, maybe even convert some of those people into contributors on your Patreon channel, which, Andrew's very accomplished and established. I don't have a Patreon myself, but if you want to lure people in, these shorts are very interesting as a tool or a tactic to do that, and they're not difficult to produce. But you have to be willing to just put more volume out there into the world. So I've introduced Andrew to this platform, Opus, and I'm suggesting to him that maybe he could take his long-form content and slice it up using Opus and put out more shorts on YouTube that might get a reach of thousands. And even if 1% of those who watch a short click through to the underlying long-form content, and then a fraction of those people become subscribers, over time, those numbers add up. So it's a long-term strategy. It's not a silver bullet, but it's an idea. And I know it sounds a little time-intensive, and there's a question of cost benefits and trade-offs. Is it really worth it? Do I need to waste my time and energy on all this? Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of what I would say skepticism, rightly, but I actually have confidence that this is the way. Like the Mandalorian, this is the way. Short form content, building off your long form content at scale, testing, learning, scheduling them to be released at different times of day, understanding where your audience is, what types of clips get the most traction and attention and engagement, always commenting and replying to comments when people drop them. There's very basic tactics that we can learn from, and I'm very keen on this space. So, long story short, what's on my mind as I'm making this trek back to Buckhannon, West Virginia, is how can I leverage my passion and my curiosity, my energy, and my interest in this short form, long form equation for the benefit of my friend Andrew, but also me, because I want to seek to learn how to use these tools and deploy them more effectively as a content creator myself. It got me thinking maybe I could use this episode of Riffin'. This isn't Riffin'. This is Drive and Jive. Sorry, Riffin' with Raff is when I'm interviewing people. I did interview Andrew on a car ride many months ago, probably about half a year ago. I'll drop that link in the show notes. A previous episode of Raff's Brain, we just shot the shit as we were driving down to an event. I think it was Halloween, possibly, or maybe it was before that. I don't remember. Bottom line is, you may remember Andrew from that episode. If you're a real loyal, dedicated brainiac, I know there's a few of you out there. Well, the car just flashes lights at me. That means there's probably a copper up there, right? So I gotta slow down. Oh yeah, I love it when people hook up and help you out in that regard, because I don't want to be paying any tickets. I do have a bit of a lead foot, admittedly. Whoa. But I'm a very safe driver. I'm a very good driver. So there's a copper right there. Yeah, he wasn't lying. Thankfully, it's at an intersection, so it comes to a full stop. Yeah, that's right. That's right. No tickets today. Not today, copper. I respect the police. I like the fact that at any given moment, it's possible that I could be captured for speeding. It's possible that other people out there who are driving dangerously and recklessly could be arrested and fined and punished, because we shouldn't be that way. I understand it and I respect it. I just also know that I have a track record of excellent driving, and this is not just me, but it's not like a skewed false belief in myself. I just knock on wood, man. I've never been in a car accident that I have while I'm driving. I've been in an accident when I was a passenger. They're not fun, but again, not something that I've ever brought about. So I'm almost 50 years old. I've been driving since I was 15 years old. You do the math on that. pretty good, man. I've gotten a handful of tickets in my life. I never complain. That's the cost of doing business. I look at it as an expense that occasionally is going to be part of my tab. Now, here's the thing. I haven't had a ticket in a while, man. I shouldn't say that. I'm probably jinxing it right now. I haven't had a speeding ticket in a long time. And that's a good thing, because you get a speeding ticket, insurance company doesn't like that, makes you pay more. That's no fun. So anyway, just wanted to give you a heads up. That was a very, very pleasant thing. I like it when people do that old school technique. I don't see it as much as I used to. I got to be honest. I think drivers have become less friendly to strangers. The idea of someone flashing their lights at you to alert you to an upcoming police officer, speed trap, that used to be very common. That would happen multiple times a year if you're driving on the interstate especially. It seems to have fallen out of style or out of vogue. Do I do it for others? Yes, I do, occasionally. Occasionally, if it makes sense, I will try to alert people that are coming the other direction. Hey, flash, 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 there's a copper ahead. Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me an anarchist? No. I'm trying to exhibit behaviors in the world that I would like exhibited by others. Just a little heads up. So anyway, things are good. Back on track. Back to the story at hand. What I was thinking is I could take a moment here during this drive. It's going to get curvy here soon. That is just the nature of this particular drive. That I could use that, I don't know, say take 10 or 15 minutes. I had two thoughts. One was I could just record a sort of freestyle verbal pitch to try to sell Andrew on the idea that I could dedicate, let's say, a month of my effort and energy just for fun in support of his podcast. Like, hey, what would it look like for me to take over the short form content of the Political Orphanage for 30 days? Obviously, he would have final say on anything that we release. It's his brand. But like I could go through that pitch. I could take the next 10, 15 minutes kind of pitching him on the idea, thinking about what the metrics could look like. Like, why are we doing this? What do we expect pre and post? And actually, it is a bit of an experiment. It's a hypothesis. If we do this, then we'd expect to see that. Let's get a little more sharp on what those concepts and metrics are. Maybe he'd go for it. Maybe he wouldn't. What I'm most excited about is the opportunity to prove what I believe to be true, which is if you really push out this short form content in an intentional way, a consistent manner, probably 3 to 6 shorts for every long form product. That means you're going to be pushing out multiple shorts a day, different times. And then if you really get sharp on the description you use, the key terms that you're targeting and pushing out, that enables people to find you and discover you based on the content of the conversation. And what's interesting about Andrew's show is he's just got so many topics. He runs the gamut. I think you could get sharp on that. And, you know, if you're doing a conversation on AI or film tax credits, those are radically different things in some respect, but you could find your audience for that particular clip, and it might lure them into your long form episode, and then they might become regular listeners if they're just curious people. Like anything, it's not going to appeal to everybody. No single product or show or piece of entertainment is universal outside of the Terminator. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Nothing is going to appeal to everybody, even though it should. Alien, the Terminator, Unforgiven, Tombstone, Major League, Jaws, Airplane, Kentucky Fried Movie. These are like untouchable. These movies should be on everybody's must-see list. They must be consumed, analyzed, and valued and rewarded and respected and appreciated for eternity. But that's not how the world works. I respect that. Everyone's got differences. The bottom line is, for Andrew's podcast, it's not going to appeal to everybody in the world, but I just think there's a lot of people out there who might find him an intriguing voice. The voice of reason and levity in a very tense and anxious world. So that's what I'd like to help him out with. And if I could, that'd be cool. So why would he want to do this? Why would he let me do this? Because I think if we could map out like a 30-day experiment, we could look at pre and post metrics, new subscribers, people that are lured in. And the metrics on YouTube are ridiculous. The back-end metrics, you can see how many people are clicking through the shorts to the underlying long-form content, and then you can get a sense of the demographics of those audiences you're reaching, and there's a lot of ways to slice and dice it. But most interesting to me is like, what's the value of that? Right now, I don't know the value, and I don't even know what Andrew would say is the value of that. So I would do it for free. I'm just curious. I want to help him out. It would not be enormously taxing. It'd be several hours a week of my time. I can budget that on the nights and weekends, no problem. But then at the end of the 30 days, we take stock of the data and go, what's this worth? What is the added visibility, brand identity, reach? What is that in an economic sense worth to Andrew? I'm not expecting he would ever pay me for these services. I'm trying to understand if I wanted to charge a stranger for them, what would that look like? If I could take his 1 month case study and basically go to someone and say, hey, I just did this and I was able to achieve X result. What's that worth to you? And I don't know the answer to these questions. I'm just trying to test the market a little bit here. And the bottom line is, I know a lot of people, a lot of content creators, certainly in like the think tank space where I work, who do push out some amount of podcast or long form video content, sometimes significant amounts, but they're not playing the shorts game. They're not really slicing and dicing and repurposing, repackaging content across various digital platforms to the fullest extent possible. I think it's a huge miss, especially because you make such a huge investment in the underlying long-form content. Getting an interview for a long-form podcast, all the work that goes into that on the production side is significant. So why not put in the extra effort to extract what might be the greatest value? Is the short content that can allure and attract new listeners, new audience members, expand the reach of your brand, and it's just like, it seems like a real glaring oversight for many content creators. And I want to jump in there and help them out. I've even suggested, like, aside from just YouTube, which is one platform, you could upload those videos on other channels too, like TikTok, X, LinkedIn. I really do think LinkedIn could be a very prominent place for him. Also because you put the little clip on LinkedIn and you tag and you engage and you use hashtags on certain topics, where that is a pretty common practice. If someone's curious about AI, they might search by AI, and that's where your content could come up. And I just think there's something to be said for this. And I think it could really be, would it lead to exponential growth? I don't know. But if it did, I think then you'd have to go, hey, this is actually a valuable strategy. This isn't just self-indulgent and narcissistic. It's actually for a purpose. It yields impact and results, and that's what we want at the end of the day. And I guess that's the question I would make for any content creator. What are you trying to accomplish here? You want to reach more people, get more fans and followers, get more engagement in your content, and I think ultimately some subset of those people who really like you, convert them into supporters, sponsors of your show. So I think it's part of that strategy. I could be wrong. It may not be worth it, but anyway, I'd be the one bearing the cost initially of time and energy, primarily. That's on me. So that's kind of how I would pitch it to Andrew. I haven't fleshed it out specifically. That's the general idea. But what I really want to do at this, as I continue to record this episode, and I'm making this up a little bit on the spot, one idea I had was getting ChatGPT to help me craft a pitch and understand the metrics that I should be looking at as I embark on this project. So almost like if I could get a stream of consciousness style articulation of the idea, upload that to ChatGPT, and have it refine and organize the suggestion, and help me think through how I should measure the impact and like what the time horizon is, what the specific production schedule could look like. And that would make it even more exciting and perhaps more compelling. So what I was thinking is I'll pivot real quickly here. I'm going to take this episode of Raff's Brain and publish it on the usual platforms, but I'll take the audio file from it, throw it into Otter, which is what I use to get transcripts, and then maybe starting right around here in a moment, I'll be stream of consciousness style trying to capture the idea of this experiment and asking ChatGPT to help me refine it. So what I'll do is go into Otter, transcribe this episode, cut and paste this portion I'm about to embark on into ChatGPT with a very express and direct prompt to refine and repackage the concept in a meaningful way, as though I were pitching it to a podcast content creator like Andrew, so I can send that to him in an email along with the episode of this podcast and say, hey buddy, and by the way, he has no idea this is coming, so it's going to be interesting. I don't know if it's too much. He might be like, Raffety, get out of my face, dude. I don't need this. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing yourself. But I don't think that's how I don't think he'd be that mean about it. He just might say no. And I would respect that, because it's not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. And my ambition to take someone else's content and tell them, do this thing that I don't know is going to work, but I think it will. It's like, it's not for everybody. He's got a brand, he's got an audience, he's got supporters, and you don't want to confuse them. You don't want to, Raffety getting in there and mucking it up. So this might not go anywhere. But I think what will be cool is if I upload this episode of the podcast, he listens to it. I also complement that with a written narrative, like one pager from ChatGPT that lays out what we would attempt to do. What am I suggesting? What is my pitch or my proposal, if you will? Have ChatGPT help me draft that. Send them both those products together. How could you say no? Come on, Heaton! Let me do this, man. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm just kidding. No pressure. But then if I did it, for me, the benefit is I could talk about it on my show. Maybe a couple times throughout the experiment, I would let people know how it's going. And I would articulate the lessons I'm learning on this podcast, right? So that's, in a way, it kind of helps me have something to talk about on Raff's Brain. Mutual benefit, son. That's what I'm talking about. Help me, help you, help me. You know what I'm saying? Insanity. So let me real quick, get a little riff on how I would instruct ChatGPT. Okay, so this is where I'm going to record. I'm going to record this part. I'm going to transcribe it. I'm going to upload it. I'm going to give a very, very nice, clean, succinct prompt to ChatGPT to help me with the one pager. Okay. All right, ChatGPT. I am trying to persuade a prolific content creator, an extraordinarily successful, entertaining, and close friend of mine, Andrew Heaton, host of the Political Orphanage. I'll drop a link to this so you can do some research on it for yourself. I'd like to convince him or persuade him to let me, for free, for no cost, for a particular time horizon, maybe it's a month, take his long-form video podcast content on YouTube and repurpose it for shorts in an attempt to increase his reach, subscription, and potentially even some subset of those listeners to become paid subscribers through his Patreon channel. So what's the best way to do that? How do I explain it to him in a way that might be really compelling? And I think I have to look at, well, what's the value that this could create for him? First of all, I think the first thing I want to lead with is this is Raffety at no cost, dude. I'm not going to charge you for this. I'm just like the drug dealer outside of the schoolhouse handing out free little crack rocks. You want some for free? The first hit's free. The first hit's free, Heaton. The first month of my services. So how can you say no? I know just say no is a thing, but don't just say no to Raffety. Just say maybe. Just say let's see what's possible. Okay. So I offer this service at no cost. That's my number one appeal. What do you have to lose? Only your reputation, because Raffety's a little goofy. But here's the thing, I'm not going to be doing anything outlandish. I'm not going to be commenting on it. It's not going to be my voice. All I'm going to do is take your long form content, push it through Opus Clips, push it through Opus Clips, pull out about 3 to 5 shorts per long form product. I think he cranks out like 3 to 4 episodes a week. This guy is prolific. He is a content machine, and he has tons of long form content. Each of those episodes is probably like over an hour long, and it's really compelling. Great conversations, very interesting people, very fascinating topics. Some of the stuff's really timely. It's right in the zeitgeist, man. So I want to pull out at least 3 to 5 shorts from every long form product. Maybe more, maybe less, depends, right? It all depends. You're trying to find stuff that has standalone potential to be deployed as YouTube Shorts, potentially also on TikTok, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, other platforms. So that's my offer to him. I'll do this for free using my Opus subscription. I could, for let's say 1 month, if that sounds right, offer these services. And my question for ChatGPT is, what metrics should we be looking at to assess pre and post impact? And actually, I think an interesting question would be, what certainly if we do this, there will be some increase in the audience viewership and reach. That's a guarantee. And I'm not prone to making guarantees, but I assure you, and I know this from my own process, I will, for instance, take this episode of Raff's Brain, Drive and Jive, I'll throw it into Opus, I'll get clips, I'll put a couple of them up, and I'll get thousands of views of those shorts. And maybe a very small fraction of a percentage will come back in and watch this entire episode. I don't even have much evidence yet that happens for me. But I know I'm expanding my reach, and I'm getting subscribers to my YouTube channel through this tactic. It's happening. I haven't really tracked it at a minute level, but it will definitely have some impact. The question is it enough of an impact to justify it beyond a month? Is it enough of an impact that some conceivable world, a content creator like Andrew or someone else, would pay for it? That's what I'm most curious about. What is the value of this? How do I help explain this to him through this one pager that ChatGPT you're going to help me create? How do I make it compelling so he is curious like me in understanding the potential value and impact of repurposing, repackaging his long form content into multiple short form clips per episode? What's the critical mass we should be looking for to know this is worth it or not? I mean, I assume that every short form video will get probably hundreds, if not thousands of views. So when you aggregate all that up, I bet I'll draw a lot of hours of traffic to his YouTube page. And then I'll have some number of those people that'll convert to subscribers. How many more long-form listens and views will he get? I don't know. How many Patreon supporters? Probably very few. It's going to be so the game is one of just increase the N. You got to get more reach, more listeners, more brand awareness. Get people to know who you are. What is the Political Orphanage? Get that on the map a little bit more. And then, again, it's going to appeal very, very deeply to a small percentage of those people that didn't even know about it before. And maybe a few of them will convert. That's the theory. ChatGPT, I need your help drafting a one-pager and to explain to Andrew how this is going to work. I want metrics in here, like what should we be looking at to know if we're making a difference. I want to get a sense of your thoughts, although I don't need to include this in the memo. I'm curious about what existing services like this might be out there and what do they charge? Social media consulting or, editing consulting services. I don't know the answer to this question. Can you do a survey? I'll probably ask you to do some deep research on this and come back to me with like a sense of, if I were to charge any content creator, not just a close friend, but like anybody, what if I go into the marketplace for this sort of thing, what does it cost? What does a contract like this look like? So help me with that one pager. Make it compelling. Make it fun and clever, because he's a witty guy. He's a smart dude. He might, resonate more with that approach. And then one other thing I'd like to have in the document is an ask of if he thinks this would be valuable or of interest to his audience. And this is, again, a little bit more of mutual benefit, or is it perhaps excessive? There might be a downside to making this ask. To what extent would he be willing to share with his audience the fact that we're embarking on this experiment together? Could I be a guest on his show, for instance? I did once on his sci-fi. He has different podcasts. Another one's science fiction focused podcast. We did have like an hour-long conversation there. So he knows I'm a known quantity to some extent. I'm not sure if this justifies a full episode of the Political Orphanage. So it's a tough sell. Even for me, as I hear myself talking it through, I'm not sure it makes sense. But here's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's a little micro episode. Maybe it's only released on the YouTube channel. We don't have to push it out on his podcast channel. I don't know, man. I don't know what the standards are, Andrew. But think about this. What if we did like just a 15-minute little conversation? Hey, everybody, bonus episode. Maybe this is just for your Patreons. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. You need content for the Patreons? Maybe you do. This is where it could come in, man. You say, hey, Patreons, here's a fun little thing. I got a friend, Rob Raffety. He's goofy, he's wacky, and he thinks he has some ideas for creative dissemination of my content. And I'm going to give him a shot. So the way this works is, let's talk about it. And so I get on the show. We have this little riff. We go, yeah, here's the idea, man. And we'll come back and we'll check in a month. And we'll have very transparent reporting of the data, the metrics, the impact, and it'll just be like an ongoing conversation. What does this mean? There's zero expectation or obligation that I would ever do it going forward. There's zero expectation that you would ever pay me for any of these services. I just am eager to experiment and test and learn. I've been doing it on my own channel to some effectiveness, but I'm such a small entity. I don't have a large audience. I don't have a vast following. I wonder how this would translate in a more quote-unquote legitimate or established show like yours. And I just think there's something here, man. I think there's something interesting to explore. The reason it helps me out is because I do believe if I could demonstrate this is a measurable impact, I can then shop this approach around to many others in the world that I know who I think should be doing this, but who aren't. And I could say, hey man, maybe you should think about hiring me to do that. And I could do little contracts for different nonprofits and organizations or some specific creators to help them really elevate their game and get what they want. By the way, what we all want is for people to hear us and listen to us, and that's the whole point of making content. So why not try to find new and exciting ways to get your product out to more people, right? That's really the underlying value proposition. And the fact that I'm willing to just do it for free. Come on, man. How could you say no? How can you resist the charisma of this goofy guy, Rob Raffety? All right. So I think that's it for this episode. I've enjoyed riffing here, jive and drive as we wind down this episode. I've enjoyed it immensely. I can't wait to upload this to ChatGPT, to get the one-pager, to publish this episode, to send the link to Heaton, to have him reject me forever as a friend because I'm just pulling this really without any warning. But don't worry, Andrew, there are very few people who listen to my show. This is not going to reflect negatively on you. It reflects negatively on me to the extent that I'm publishing something in a public forum. But really, if it wasn't going to be on my podcast, I would have just recorded this message and sent it to you directly. I'll close with a final question. This is a really legitimate question. And I think right now my instinct is to take this episode, as I do, unfiltered, publish it as a podcast and as a YouTube. I have tens of listeners. I mean this very candidly. I don't have a huge, massive following. I will get maybe 10 listeners on my podcasts. That's a high end, probably. And I will get 5 to 10 watches on YouTube. So we're talking tens of listeners. I think I have a good sense of who those people are. Many of you may already know Andrew Heaton, quite frankly. We swim in similar circles. So at least a few of the listeners in this audience are probably already friendly with Andrew to begin with. Now, what does that mean? That means for Andrew's sake, I don't want you to worry that this is like some sort of mass public, request. The question would be, my inclination is just to post it, run with it, share the link with Andrew, share the one-pager with Andrew, and see what he says. And he might go, Raff, this is crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you ask in a public forum? Why wouldn't you have just reached out to me? We could have grabbed coffee, and you could have explained this idea to me. I would have been more likely to engage it, but now it just seems weird. It seems like gonzo journalism, a little narcissistic and weird. I don't want to be associated with that because you don't know what you're doing, and sometimes your reach exceeds your grasp. That might happen. I'm okay if that happens. I don't mind that. But the alternative would be get all this stuff prepped, and then I think this approach has a little less authenticity and less integrity. It would be do all the stuff like I've just done. Don't hit the publish button on the episode. Send the hidden link, make it a non-public link on YouTube, and send it to Andrew along with the memo and say, hey buddy, I had this zany idea when I was driving across the mountains, going from Arlington to Buckhannon, and I recorded a episode of my podcast, and I was thinking I would just publish it to share with the world. It's all about how I want to work with your show to help elevate the reach through targeted dissemination and repackaging of your long-form content. But I don't want to publish it. First, I want you to know what I'm going to publish, and then you can tell me, never publish this. You should never see the light of day. Raffety, I have no interest in working with you. And therefore, don't humiliate yourself. Don't make that episode public. Don't put that out there to the world, because I'm going to say no. I'm probably not going to ever want to talk to you again. You're just behaving in an unusual way. It's very unorthodox. So my answer is no. I mean, basically, there's a cautious approach to this, which is give him a heads up and give him a chance to quote unquote approve the episode before it's released. I'm not really inclined to do that. I'm at a point in life as I approach 50 years old. I'm like, just go, man. Follow your instincts. This is a fun idea. Whether or not Andrew wants to do it is not going to hurt my feelings. I will not be upset. I'll be okay, man. I respect the heck out of everybody. And so I think I just want to get it out there. I want to get the idea out there. I want to make it public. It's kind of fun. For me, it's a fun little experiment. And the other thing is, well, if Andrew says this is not really a good idea for me personally, my brand, my ambitions, I don't think this makes sense. No problem, no harm, no foul. But in the process, maybe one of my other loyal listeners has a show or podcast or works somewhere that might benefit on this type of free service for a very limited time horizon for sake of learning. So that's, I guess, what I'm thinking. As we wrap this up, I'm going to publish it. I'm going to send them the link. I'm going to send them the one-pager that ChatGPT makes me. And we'll see if it triggers a conversation, or maybe he'll never talk to me again. Man, I don't think it's going to hurt friendship. I mean, this is nothing I'm doing here, I would hope, is objectionable. It is a bit unorthodox. I will acknowledge that. But that's my nature. It's very on brand. I think we can all agree. What's going down here is very much a Rob Raffety production. All right, everybody, this has been a lot of fun. Andrew, thanks for playing, man. Regardless of what happens, I appreciate you. I think very highly of you, and I wish you nothing but the greatest success. And I want more of your voice in the world, my friend. I really do want to help you. I share information about your show with anyone I ever see, and if there's anything outside of this that I could ever do to support your work, you know I'm only a phone call away, man. So thanks for hearing me out. Thanks for playing along. Thanks for having fun. No matter what happens, I promise I will remain a friend and a fan of the show, The Political Orphanage. All right. That's it, everybody. Let's sign off and finish this drive. I'll be making a lot of content back in West Virginia, interviewing different high school friends. Code H is in the house. We might even execute a whatnot live social shopping experience from some of the products that we purchased from our last trip to the thrift store. So stay tuned for that. Details TBD. I got my niece Mallory Moss in the house. She's going to be a senior in high school next year. Got a lot to catch up on with her, so we have to get her back on the program. I might not be able to post all this content while I'm in West Virginia. The internet's a little challenging there at times, but stay tuned because I'm going to have a lot of content from this trip to West Virginia. I'm feeling the creative juices are just starting to flow, my friends. I can't wait to share it with you. Have a great day. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.